Hey everybody, how's it going? A few months ago, I released a video about Josh Harris, my experience with having a sales call with a member of his team that was very vindictive and, just really put me down and told me I wasn't a real business owner, all this stuff. Released a review about that and kind of broke down Josh's model as I understood it. He was kind enough to reach out to me and say, hey, I'd love to chat with you and kind of clear up some misunderstandings that obviously happened. So this video is the discussion that we had. It's quite long. You can watch the whole thing if you want. There are some pretty cool hidden nuggets in there that he shares, and honestly was a huge opportunity for me to speak to somebody that's been very successful in the business online marketing space. I look up to Josh a lot more than I did previously, and I actually had a friend that started working for him, and it's kind of funny that it turned out that way because of this. But anyways, enjoy the interview. I'll have a couple other closing thoughts at the end.
I think it's a good thing to have conversations, especially if somebody had an experience that wasn't great. Um,
Mhm.
my whole goal is always to root that out and try to keep that from happening. So when you made the review, do you remember when you first talked to the people in our group and our team?
Yeah, that would have been September, like early September of last year.
Okay, so September of 2019.
Uh-huh.
Got it. Because the review you did, was it a couple months ago, or maybe you posted a couple times?
Yeah, and then I also no, it was a couple months ago. I just didn't get around to like your ads and like your copy, just everything about what you do, like it had interested me the whole time. And I just never got around to making the review until a couple months ago. I think I recorded in like May and then published in July.
Got it. So
Yeah.
there were a few things you mentioned in there, and I
Mhm.
wanted to clear them up, or at least have understand also your perspective and how we can better position what we do, because you're our target market, based
Yeah.
on what you said. Yet, your sales experience gave you kind of an MLM vibe or whatnot. So for me, as
Uh-huh.
someone that was involved in MLMs, I don't know if you ever had any experiences with those. The thing I always hated about it was you had to sell to people you knew, and there was
Uh-huh.
a lot of more money made actually recruiting people into the organization and making overrides on them versus
Yeah.
actually selling the thing.
Mhm.
Personally, I would never ever, I don't know how many ways I can say ever, want to be involved in one or be associated with one in any way, because I really do believe that they are not great from a model
Mhm.
perspective. And so for me, right, our model, no one makes any money recruiting other people into our business. And
Yeah.
really, we have an affiliate program that almost very few people use. We don't really promote it a whole lot, mainly because,
Yeah.
I never wanted people in their mind to think, oh, I'll make my money by getting people into this instead of selling the thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And so from that perspective, I wouldn't classify us as an MLM. And so I'm curious from your perspective, are there things we can do, or how can we explain it where there's a very clear distinction between those two models, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me that was also, sorry, I'm right by the road if there's sirens, but um, the biggest deal for me was like I didn't feel like the reason I'm in business, like I dropped out of college to start an agency, and it's just like I want to learn, like this is my education, and so I wasn't really into like the sales call was all about like let's just make you as much money as fast as possible. Like we don't want to show you the campaigns, we don't want to do anything, and it just felt kind of like I wasn't going to be a real business owner. I was just going to kind of like own, I don't know, buy in to learn sales and then own like a white label team, but not really. So I think the biggest deal, like the MLM vibe that I got was like MLM's not a real business. Like you're just kind of selling other people's stuff and like getting some recurring money off of that. And then, yeah, so I think it was more like you're right that the recruitment part doesn't fit at all, but it was more just the vibe in general, like not really owning your own business, buying in instead of and like having to continually buy in with the white label team, like kind of being married to them. So that was my like from my perspective, that's
Got it.
why I said that.
And what I'll do is I'll hopefully clear up the model and how it works. And of course, there's always, I'm sure you played telephone before. It's like you say something to one person, they say it to another person. By the time someone else says it,
Yeah.
you know, um, I always like to talk about incentives align behaviors, right? And you have to shape those in your organizations. But China, for example, they have there's some sort of policy they have where if you injure somebody, you're responsible for the medical bills for like their life. But if you kill somebody, there's like a top, because there's like a max, because it's like a death fine. So people would like hit somebody on the street and then they like go in reverse and like run the guy over and make sure he's dead, because they like that's an example of an incentive like going awry. Yeah. And so unfortunately, sometimes salespeople, they incentivize towards, they know that, and this is a sales fact, right? In my experience is that the more you get into the weeds and the details, unless you're talking to an IT person that's supposed to do like a API integration between two things, it gets them into a feature mode. And then basically the way features go is it's like a virus. They exponentially multiply, and then the person has way too much information about things that they have no idea about. Then they try to tie it to something that they know. And then usually the association can go negative. Like, it's a lead. Leads suck, right? It's like then their mind goes there, because when they're confused, the decision by default is no, right? With clear mind. So I think they optimize that way, but the reality behind what we actually deliver to our clients is we, through our own agency clients, have developed an infrastructure to deliver results. So on the data side, if you start to look into identity resolution, people-based marketing, multi-channel marketing, marketing is going that way. The technology exists to do that, where, you can see the way one person accesses the entire internet. And we use what we call an identity graph. So identity graph would be like, we have your email addresses, your phone numbers, your social profiles, and the ways that you interact with those things will all fill in. It's like cameras with different vantage points. And so with that, you're able to triangulate someone's trajectory on their path of intent. So there's like 5 steps that people usually have through the process of buying something. The first one they have is, let me pull it up. They go through this this stage, 5 different stages, and most of the money gets wasted because of that. So the first one is awareness, then there's interest, then there's consideration, then there's intent, and then there's purchase. And so a lot of marketing goes into people that are in the interest or awareness phase, or worse, at purchase. They already bought it, and then you see actually bought it, right? So this allows us to focus in on that. And because of the clients that we work with in the pharmaceutical space, the medical space, the personal injury space, like they've helped us fund the development of the data technology to be able to do that because of their specific needs. So that's one piece. And the other piece is, yes, we have a technology that's similar to Go High Level, but we've gone beyond it in the sense that our texting and the way it communicates is now, it's got basically machine learning components where instead of waiting for the business to do the responses, it can start to do the responses back and forth. It uses deep learning and semantic meaning of text to kind of roughly understand what they're saying. And so the thing we've just rolled out now, text back and forth with the person, will schedule an appointment by checking the availability of the salesperson, time zones and everything. So think of it like a Calendly, but it's done through texting. And then it'll schedule that appointment, remind them, and then allow you both to call each other at the same time and then record the whole thing. And so that's basically automating the entire setting process for businesses, because that's the biggest gap, is the time from when they're a lead to when they get on the phone and get into a sales process. So we've developed, we use those tools. We use them in our business to, at this stage, like I look at the evolution of an agency as like, you go through and you're offering services and you have a retainer model, then you might move to like a pay per lead. But then eventually when you get really good at the sales and the marketing, you say, well, if I can control the sales and marketing variable, well, now let's just look for products and businesses I want to bolt that onto as a rev share. And we've done that now with multiple scenarios in the last 6 months, and we've been able to hit 7-figure run rates. Like we have a product in a niche we've never sold in. We're doing $10,000 a day with that. And that's because, like, for us, it's like getting the client part initially is like too much work for us, that they become the bottleneck for us to scale. So part of our business models, we lend that infrastructure and those best practices to people like you, And we do, the salesperson didn't tell you, but we do teach you all of that stuff. Like, our whole premise is, if you didn't have to worry about all the media buying, all the fulfillment infrastructure, and like knowing what's going on in the marketplace, where things are going, what the trends are, if you could basically get that information and just focus on building a marketing, and sales and fulfillment infrastructure as far as client management, would that de-bottleneck the growth? And in our experience, the answer has been yes. And so we do educate our clients and our agency partners on how they do that. So our model is like, if we give this to everybody, we can't give the support to everybody. Then it also floods the market, and that's something that's widely available isn't nearly as valuable as something that we also know is sold correctly. And we have to make sure you sell it to the right people under the right circumstances, because otherwise the churn is higher. Because even if you have a perfect product, if it's not connected properly with the business to use it, it creates that churn scenario, regardless of the results. So that's like our model in a nutshell. And that's how it's different than the other guys out there who they'll teach you how to do all this stuff, but you're kind of left holding the bag when it comes to delivering results. And that's like the one thing that consistently is an issue. And I see all these white label companies. You have white label companies that let anybody and everybody do it. It's a body shop of a bunch of kids that don't know how to do anything.
Yeah.
And there might be a couple smart guys in there, but they're not working on your campaigns, right? Or you have templates. And templates, and the problem with these is that they become outdated very quickly, but most importantly, they don't scale. Some guy will be like, oh, look, I'm getting leads. They spend $300. It's like, okay, spend $5,000. And they can't do it because they can't expand their thing past that. Or you just have contractors, individuals. And the problem is those guys, they're not scalable. They go AWOL, all sorts of things happen. And then there's our model where we integrate a sales, marketing, and fulfillment process that are actually aligned together. Instead of you trying to figure out some cold email thing that'll get you calls, a sales process that works for that, and then a product that's in line with that, because those things all have to integrate for there to be that scale.
Yeah.
So that's why we went that way, and that's the value that we provide the people in the space. But clearly we can do a better job of articulating that and explaining the calls.
Yeah, I think like I said in the video, like I really do respect, what you guys offer is very different than anybody else in the space, and it's valuable. Like there's no question about everything you just said is very different. It's a very like done for you component. But for me personally, and I actually had I had another sales call like a month ago, which also went semi poorly. I can tell you about that if you want, but they just reached out and they were like, hey, do you want, let's talk again. And I was like, oh, I was told I couldn't see anything about the campaigns. He said, oh, that's changed. Like we can get on the phone. And he mentioned that you're starting to reach out to more people who like pretty much know what they're doing, but they might want some like other team to help them scale type thing. But again, it was just, I don't know, maybe I'm just too entrepreneurial or too prideful in my entrepreneurial mind where I want to own my business instead of being like married to something else that where you guys go, I go. And I'd rather just, figure out my own stuff. And even if I don't have all the data in the world, like my goal with the agency is to fund other projects and learn. And, if I wanted to scale to $200,000 a month in a year, like I know exactly where to go. It'd be you guys, but for now I'm happy making how much I'm making. I enjoy the process of learning and like figuring out results. We're getting good enough results. We're continually improving those. So yeah, just at the end of the day, it's more like I want autonomy over my business and where it goes, but no question about the value you guys provide.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point. And the way I look at it, right, because everything's always a matter of perspective, right, is at some point to scale anything, you have to make judgments about what to use, right? Do I hand code everything by HTML? Do I use a page builder, right? And then you basically value the risk of like, how easy is it to replace this thing? And naturally, anything that's easy to replace and harder to replicate is going to be a lot more valuable, provided it's got the other components in place about it being highly desirable and not widely available. And so for us, our model is built around, you have a flat cost of fulfillment as opposed to one that, for you might have any number of different bottlenecks for yourself, your own time. And then anything as it scales, at a certain point, people have to do it, right? So it's like, in other words, it's a subcontractor versus a in-house employee model, right? So it's like at some point to scale, if you're just doing the ads, it's like someone has to do something else in the organization. And so the premise is it easier to figure out the business development and management skills, those soft skills, and those, or the media buying skills of, my partner, my business partner that works with me, like, I don't do the media buying. I can't, like, it's too much. He just does media buying and manages the whole team. And we manage sometimes $1.5 million a day, like in campaigns. Like, that's a very different ballpark. And I conceptually understand what he's doing, but I can't, I don't have that bandwidth to do it. And so then in our business, we make that decision, and other people, they make that decision. But it's like at some stage, you're reliant on something, right? Because it's like, it's either an employee, a key employee that can leave, a contractor that, they can change terms or whatnot. So it's like at some point, someone has to be leaned on to be able to scale. I mean, even Apple doesn't build all, they source components and they assemble them. So it's more like the assembly sourcing model. Is there a model to do that? And then you own the clients. We have non-circumvent clauses, so I can't go around and try to take your clients. You have that relationship. They don't know we exist. You can sell them anything else you want. And the moment you find an alternative for them that's different or better, cheaper in any way, it's like you can change out the service. And we have people that do that. They don't just use us for everything, but based on our marketing sales methodologies, they get the client, they own the relationship, they decide what services they want. But a lot of the time, we end up getting the business because of the fact that our product that we have, we can forecast lead costs up high and lows, and we guarantee them inside a range. We've spent our own money on a couple of occasions to make sure that we deliver the number of opportunities that we say. So, those types of things make it where it's easier to sell. There's a continuity between it. And then, the AI component with the texting that we're adding is really like, that's solving a huge problem. And to me,
for sure,
it closes the loop as well. So when someone is buys, we're able to go back, look at what they did, their entire journey along the way, and re-optimize. So it's like with anything, like you have to figure out like what infrastructure you build on, and there's distributors, software technologies. That's kind of the way we're going. But between you and me, we're like, the training business is such a small part of our entire thing. Like the last 6 months, we promoted our training very little, and we're making more money just doing what we do. And we're kind of structured like a management consulting company where we'll come in, but we effectively will get large percentages of a company provided we hit certain benchmarks. But now that we have this, we know how to build the sales teams, we know how to run the marketing and our technology there. That's really the way we're doing it. Just like with Amazon, they built Amazon Web Services because they couldn't find the product in the marketplace that actually fit their needs. They built it, and then it was like became its own business. That's kind of where these things got born out of, is we had to use them for our clients. And then it was like, other people were like, dude, give me that. Because it's really hard getting into organizations and selling a position like that. Is really its own world. Like you can just go deep in that, and there's so much in that. But then same on the fulfillment side, it's like an endless rabbit hole on the marketing tech and where that all goes.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not trying to sell you. I'm more trying to like I want to find a way to make sure that you understand what we can do. And then if you have any like ideas or advice on how we could articulate that to the marketplace, it's a hybrid between a white label and a training, because the issue has always been that you have to find a way to connect an acquisition system and a fulfillment system, and they're very rarely linked together. Or have anything exciting about it.
So I think as far as like the perception side of things from my side, I came at it like I was seeing your ads when I was, watching Kevin David how to run a Facebook ad YouTube videos 2 years ago, and had no clue what I was doing. And just kind of like, I feel like the ads at that point were speaking to me somewhat, but then I like wasn't really sure what you did. I didn't really understand the whole thing. But as I've become like probably on the more sophisticated end of your market, it appealed to me. Like I knew that you had something very different, but something I would articulate is just how flexible you are, because it sounds very rigid. That's the vibe I got from most of most of your marketing, and the fact that I could, experiment with your white label team and try it out on a couple clients, see how it goes, and not be married to it long term, not have to, invest $25,000 to figure that out, and stick with a lot of what I've come up with to this point. That's a lot more appealing to me than like being able to test it is a lot more appealing to me than just having to like go all in and buy in and then change my sales structures and do all this training. And like, I've gotten to the point, like, I know how to get clients, we know how to get clients results, and I'm sure we could get better results. You always can. And I'm sure we could get more clients. You always can. But is it worth, to me, it's just like, I've invested in so many programs at this point. Like, I've done so many things. I'm not interested in building like an 8-figure agency, at least right now. And so for me, I don't know, just like, I'm sure there's tons of other people who are a lot more interested in this, that want some sort of, I think that the person I had the sales call with mentioned people that were just wanted an extra stream of income and invested in this, and all they have to do is making the marketing materials, and you guys are doing everything, and that's super great for them. Like, that, your offer is incredible for people like that. But for me, I still feel like, now after having this conversation, realizing that it's more flexible, it sounds a lot nicer. But again, I just feel like I have, like, the campaigns we've developed, and by campaigns we've developed, I mean, what I've done is just, I've found people that have run agencies in my space or in other industries, and just like paid for consulting from them. Like, what do you do? What does the integration look like? What are your campaigns? What does the copy say? Just like literally taking as much as possible, which I got this from David Thompson. If you know him, like, he'll just hang out in Facebook groups from other industries and kind of watch what they're doing. So to me, like, we're getting good enough results with a simple solution. I'm not like trying to grow something super huge right now.
It has to be a pain point, right? And so it either has to be a pain point from the bandwidth it's taking up to manage it, the bandwidth it's taking to stay up with it, or they just might have no solution, right? I mean, those are really, our target is someone they feel like they have good marketing and business development chops, and they can get into the industry, but they're like, I don't have the time to really figure out the infrastructure. Or they're like, hey, I've got clients, like, but we're struggling to get results in super competitive ones like personal injury, or, other advanced ones in the medical space, where it's a very specific person. That's where that data really matters a lot. That's where that starts to come in and be really important, in that equation. But yeah, it's not, just like with anything, if you talk to a local business, like, there's got to be a pain point. If there's no pain point, then it's hard to sell anything around it. If I talk to a dentist, we're like, well, we're doing, we're okay. It's like there has to be almost that. It's like that, the 5 stages. There has to be a inciting incident where, as we like to say, enough is enough. And so for me, in my sales calls and inbound, I always like to say, like, look, in my experience, there's some sort of event or thought process that's triggered the fact that you're now looking for a solution. So let's talk about that and the timing behind that. And I found that when you really get on the path of timing, that really cuts to the root of what it is. Because if there is no timing issue, then then it's just curiosity, and they're not in a mode of doing something. And so to me, that's the clue. And so with a business, it's like, you want to get on that, like, what's going on right now? Because the fact that we're talking means that there's some objective that you want, that you're not making any progress on, or you're not making enough progress on. So what is that, and what are you currently doing, and where is it falling short, right? Where is it bottlenecked? And then from there, you can figure out pretty quickly if you can even help this person if it's a real pain point. But if it ends up being like,
Yeah.
well, we don't want to talk about what we're doing, tell me what you got. It's like, hey, how about I just send you a video? You know, because like the video will probably be better than me just rambling on right here, right now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. I like that question a lot. About the runway.
And I mean, to me, like, that's the thing too, is like, there's, you know, I mastermind personally with some of the best salespeople in the world, you know, and, you know, I've spent a lot of money to learn that. And I think that one of the number one things you can do to be a better salesperson is to have a really good product, right? And so when you spend the time that you have to have good fulfillment, that instills that confidence of knowing what you have and that you can help them. And that's the thing we give people is like them. I'm like, look, if you're not confident in your own abilities, be confident in ours. Because like we spend our own money every day to do this. Like this is, our model is doing this, right? You know, and so if you can find something better, use it. But if not, then this is what it is. Or I just say like, look, if someone knocks on the client door that you have now with this, you think they would say no? What would they ask you? What would you say? You know, and so, you know, it's a tough market though, because of the fact that, as you know, this marketplace has been soiled with a lot of bad actors, a lot of people. They go out there, they get 5 clients, they lose them all because they couldn't figure out fulfillment. They're like, oh, well, if I'm doing agency training, I don't have to learn fulfillment. I can just copy what everybody else is teaching. And then I fulfilled my agency training, and they just do that.
Yeah.
And it's just, they replicate like rabbits. It's
sickening. Yeah. Nobody thinks for themselves.
And it's so easy for us to do this in other businesses where there's intent, you know, like we had, you know, immigration law right now. I mean, that compared to like, what I can say is this, what I've had to learn in the cutthroat BS internet marketing space, there's so much more money to be made outside of that space than in it. And I really personally do despise almost everything about what it does. And I understand where people evolve in the guru scale of things, because there's how I'd like people to act and what I'd like them to respond to, and then what they actually respond to. Unfortunately, they don't respond to like rational things. They want like the 5-second agency, you know, the one word you can say to make clients give you all their money. It's just, it's like, why do people react? You know, I really wish they didn't. And which is a reason why I'm like, I don't really want to pander to that. You know, I don't want to be, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't feel it represents me and my values and what we're about. And I guess the way I talk to you is like, anybody that has something to say about me, I'm like, let's talk about it. Like, let's figure out where the disconnect was so that we can do better. And then also, you know, close that loop. Yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man. It's been great. And, so a follow-up question to what you just said. So you say like making a lot more money outside of the internet marketing industry. You're just saying because you're moving into advertising for random niches that no guru is ever going to talk about.
Yeah. Well, it's like, in other words, you know, let's say like right now we have a product in the beauty industry, and, you know, when COVID hit, they wanted to go virtual. And so we took their thing, we helped them create a virtual version of it. And, you know, we're running the ads using our data to target the people we know we want in that industry. They're being brought into a funnel. They have the ability to buy it online or book a call. We have our sales team of, I think, 5 women now that, you know, work remotely using our system. We built our communication management platform. And then we have a rev share with the person that has the product. And so, you know, they have a great product and they're positioned well, but they don't have, so this is an example of us almost doing the opposite of that, right? Like, we brought in the marketing and sales infrastructure to blow up a product, whereas in many other cases over here, we show them how to do that and then provide our product inside their business. And so here we were like, well, there's so much more money to be made taking good products and bringing them to the market or helping them scale those up. You know, for me, I've learned a lot when it comes to operations, team building, scaling, culture, all of these things, you know, and so I study that a lot. And so between me and my other 2 business partners, you know, one of them was really, really good on the sales side, one was really, really good on the fulfillment side. I'm the guy that can sit in every seat in any organization. Like, I can do any job. I can learn it quickly, show me the SOP, the process. I can do it. Because of that, I can see how the gears all have to interact to scale it up. And it's like, it's easier and more profitable. And to be honest, feels more legitimate in that space here, because here it's like, I'm in the lineup with these other guys that have nothing. It's like, it's guest, you know, and you know, and it sucks, you know, because now like this one of my people I was working with, and we scaled her up to 7 figures in her agency. And she was talking to this guy, and she was like, hey, you know, you're struggling with your agency. She's like, well, have you heard of Josh Harris? He's like, I think I have. He's like, but I'm actually learning from this guy or whatever. Like, you know, he made $10,000 his first month in his agency 2 months ago. I'm like, but it's like that's the logic. So I'm like, all right, well, if that's how these people think, then, you know, it's like you're beating your head against a brick wall. So my future trajectory is probably just making more content, having really, really low ticket things that teach people the principles of what we do. And that's a lighthouse way for us to attract smart people into what we do, because that's how I've met our partners, the people that we do these deals with. I'll kind of say, hey, if you know somebody in this space, they'll bring us weird things. And now we have like a backlog of different projects for us to take on. And I'm like, it's actually better and easier to do that than to try to sell the stuff that we have that's really unique to the marketing space, because it's so noisy. So that's kind of there.
Yeah, that's a really good perspective. And to be fair, like, for what it's worth, you're definitely, I don't class you as a guru like the other ones.
I don't want to be personally. I mean, I honestly, teaching was a reluctant thing. It happened because I was asked to do it inside one of the programs I was in. And the stuff that I had just literally figured out on my own was working for other people. And so I was like, all right, well, you know, I might as well do this, because other people were like, well, look, man, you have something that works. You care about other people and the results they get. So you should put yourself out there more, because otherwise just bad actors will put themselves out there and they'll never find you. And I'm like, you know, that's a good perspective. But now that's true. To the point where you throw a rock, like perfect example, ClickFunnels. Just the fact that we used ClickFunnels. I say the word used because as of yesterday, we are done. I will never use ClickFunnels again. I hate them. There's no one person I can point to, but what ClickFunnels has become is it's not worth being associated with. It's so slow. You know, I had a page that I recorded. It was like an unexplainable glitch inside the integration after we emailed our entire list. It's just like, I'm done. Like, how many times does this have to happen for this to be like, we couldn't get a upsell to work and they have no explanation. Like, that's the thing that your thing is to do. It doesn't do that. It can't, you know, this like, I'm not an angry guy, but I almost punched a wall and I've never really got, you know.
I love Russell Brunson, but I hate his software. That's what I've always said.
Yeah, I mean, he's a smart guy, and you know, but also got a good playbook. You know, which is that where people go wrong is that they try to teach, but if you don't build something around what you do, it's your stuff can be just taken. You know, and then there's no stickiness factor to it. There's no ongoing value, and you know that's really our future. Is like, hey, we want to build tools that help us do what we're doing. Some of them might become business models and some of them might not. You know, unfortunately, some of them are really, really valuable, but it's like, it's not valuable enough to be bundled into its own product that has a distribution model, you know, because it's not, you know, software is tough unless it's really high ticket. So,
well, awesome, man. It was good chatting. I really appreciated taking the time, and let me know. I'm happy to like update the top comment on that YouTube video and just be like, I had a great conversation with Josh, and kind of clarify what we talked about if you'd like.
Sure. And Beck Welders, I'll send you this recording if you want. And
that'd be great.
I don't know how well it records it. Sometimes it like switches between my frame and your frame on the Zoom side, but I'll send you that. And if you want to like make a, hey, you know, I talked to Josh and here are some of the things he clarified. I mean, it doesn't make a big difference to me necessarily, but just like that was the first time I saw something where someone was talking about that, and I was like, and also, let me stop this.
Okay, so there you have it. The reason he ended the recording is because he was telling me that they were going to let go of the person that had been on that sales call with me, and turns out they dug into it and found a bunch of stuff that was wrong with previous sales calls and other things going on with that employee. So good thing they got rid of him. Anyways, if you're interested in coaching for your social media marketing agency, feel free to reach out to me via Instagram or email. Email's in the about description of YouTube, and my Instagram is also up there. So just reach out. I'd love to get on a call with you and help you grow your agency. Again, my name is Keaton Walker. Thanks again for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.